Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Good evening, America. This is Michael Savage with the headlines of the day. More than 9,000 gallons of fuel to be used on Air Force One for your president's trip to the Everglades to lecture the world about Earth Day. Also in the news, liberals are attacking Scott Walker as he tries to protect American workers by putting a halt to the flood of illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, in America, Obama continues to use his pen strategy, going around Congress with more executive actions. From abroad, first halal sex shop to open in Mecca, you heard me right. A Dutch-German Sharia-compliant sex company is going to open a shop in Mecca, the Saudi Arabian city considered holy in Islam. One last note, the German company was founded by former Nazi German pilot Bitte Usa Rotemund in 1946. They're now in business again with their Arab friends, this time peddling filth. Headlines for the Savage Nation go on. Americans don't want more immigration, and they're right. They're killing us. Obama is attacking Cuban workers by supporting the dictatorship. Susan Rice disclosed classified information Iran. It gets better by the moment. In a moment, we'll have some sound from Bill Clinton calling ISIS the most interesting NGO today. I'm not making this up. It seems as though Bill Clinton wants some business from ISIS. Listen to clip number one on the Savage Nation.
Arguably the most interesting non-governmental organization today, which proves the importance of inclusion by its shortcomings, but is formidable, is ISIS. ISIS is a terrorist organization, an NGO, trying to become a state. That is, they don't recognize any of the boundaries of the Middle Eastern countries as legitimate. They were all established, drawn largely by Westerners after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire in World War I.
So now we have the President of the United States being a propagandist for Iran, and Bill Clinton being a propagandist for the ISIS organization, legitimizing them, calling them an NGO, and saying they're simply not recognizing what the West created in the Middle East. It seems that the Clintons have no bottom to their despicable natures. It seems to me he's looking for a new contract. Listen to the next soundbite in the Savage Nation.
When they go capture a place, they set up their own judicial system, they set up their own rulemakings, they set up, whatever their social services are going to be. And the only thing is you can't disagree with them or they'll kill you, as we have seen. And sometimes they kill you. They will allow, just as the Ottomans did in the Caliphate times, they'll allow a Christian or a Jew to live if they agree to pay a fine.
Well, that sounds like what Obama does. Obama permits Christians and Jews to live if we continue to pay the fine called exorbitant taxes. This is the most shameful generation of politicians America has ever had to live through. Obama won't call the 1915 Armenian massacre a genocide, again placating the murderous Muslims who are now dominating the West. Bill Clinton calls ISIS the most interesting NGO today. Meanwhile, a brave man wrote a letter to Obama, a Democrat, a liberal, and a Hispanic at that. His name is Ray Flores. I'll read you his letter. Dear Mr. President, he writes, a decade ago, I met you when I was a writer for the Chicago Tribune's Spanish-language news daily Hoy, as well as a communications specialist with the Service Employees International Union, Local 1 in Chicago. He goes on, and he said, little did I imagine that one day I would be writing an open letter to you, a man who had actually given me a recommendation for my job with the union, about your deafening silence as Christians are systematically executed by ISIS forces that some say your administration has helped fund and support. Why, Mr. President, he writes, Do you stand in silence and apathy as the horrifying news reports continue to make their way to us from independent news sources on almost a daily basis? In Syria, Egypt, and Ethiopia, the pillaging of entire villages and schools has taken place, and there's not a peep from you. Entire schools of children are being set on fire. Women are being gang raped, and men are beheaded in front of video cameras for all the world to see. ISIS terrorists are mocking and laughing at us as they slaughter our Christian brothers and sisters of all ages. Are you telling me that somehow you aren't getting the same message we're getting, Mr. President? In Australia, several Catholic churches were torched and burnt to the ground. Had they been mosques, I have a feeling that there would have been some kind of official condemnation from the White House. When, Mr. President, will you come out and denounce these acts of terrorism and provide the necessary military aid to stop this genocide against Christians? In future generations, this will be seen as our generation's Holocaust. And people will ask, what did President Obama do? It will be sad to say that the answer will be a resounding nothing. That is from Ray Flores, a gentleman member of the Service Employees International Union in Chicago and a lifetime Democrat who has more guts than the entire Republican Party put together. This is the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-400-7282, but it gets even better. Not only did Bill Clinton call ISIS an NGO, legitimizing their rape, their pillaging, and their murder, but it seems that Bill Clinton was reaching out for a contract to add more money to his library. But if you think that you have hope with Jeb Bush, you're mistaken. In the following soundbite, you will hear Jeb Bush saying that the NSA spying is a good thing. Listen to clip 3.
I would say the best part of the Obama administration would be his continuance of the protections of the homeland using, the big metadata programs, the NSA being enhanced, advancing this, even though he never defends it, even though he never openly admits it. There has been a continuation of a very important service, which is the first obligation, I think, of our national government is to keep us safe.
This is Jeb Bush calling for the spying on all Americans to keep us safe. It doesn't get any worse than this, does it? Yes, it does. It gets much, much worse than this. If you're foolish enough to take the bait and vote for this imposter, who, by the way, I called Barack Bush yesterday, then you don't deserve a nation. And now it's time for some calls to the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-400-7282. I have a slight caveat for you today. Once again, we had the plane drop from 45,000 feet of cruising altitude to almost hitting the ground just before airtime. Comcast went down. I have people on the street trying to talk to a crew of morons who are apparently playing with the wires that lead in and out of my studio from wherever I may be up to New York and out to the satellites to your local station. If I should lose you, it will be temporarily. There will only be a few minutes, I can guarantee you, because I'll have someone's head on a plate. Now let's take some calls on the Savage Nation. Any topic is fair game. Let's go to WABC in New York. Mike, you're next up. What's on your mind?
Yes, Dr. Savage, I just want to ask you a question. Do you think that Governor de Blasio's statements about wealth distribution is just another word for communism?
Yes, and the word progressive is the new word for communism, right? Anyone who's a progressive is by definition no different philosophically from the Bolsheviks who caused and brought about the Russian Revolution of 1917. Progressives are communists. Wealth redistribution, communism. Fairness, code word for communism. Don't fool yourself, my friends. They're out to turn you into a serf. Any other questions at this time? Or is the answer sufficient? That opens up a line at 855-400-7282. How do you feel about Jeb Bush saying that the best thing Obama has done is snooping on all America with the NSA spying program? Do you feel Jeb Bush is qualified to be president? Listen to clip 3 again in case you were not listening, in case you listen to talk shows to tell you that Jeb Bush is the best thing since George Bush. Listen to clip 3 again.
I would say the best part of the Obama administration would be his continuance of the protections of the homeland using, the big metadata programs, the NSA being enhanced, advancing this, even though he never defends it, even though he never openly admits it, there has been a continuation of a very important service, which is the first obligation, I think, of our national government is to keep us safe.
Now, Hitler would have said it another way. He would have said it by screaming and yelling, and they would have played the Horst Wessel song behind him. But it would have been the same words of Hitler, saying that we're going to spy on all of you Germans to make sure that the communists and the Jews don't undermine the state. But when it comes from a nice American Christian, someone with a friendly, deep voice, with a fairly friendly name named Bush, why you moronic idiots called Republicans think it's just fine. Well, let me tell you something. Hitler is Hitler, no matter what form it comes in. I'll be right back. It's the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. Welcome to Earth Day, ladies and gentlemen. In honor of Earth Day, God is sending us snow and rain in parts of America, including West Michigan. But it's a chilly morning out there. 35 degrees before sunrise today in West Michigan. But that didn't stop your leader, President Obama, from flying out and blowing out 6,000 to 9,000 gallons of fuel to give a talk in Florida about the dangers of global warming. He won't call the 1915 Armenian massacre a genocide, which is a fact, while he calls weather changes, which are perfectly normal, global warming, which is not a fact, because he himself is an artifact. He's an artifact of the office of the presidency. We have no idea what's going on, do we? I'm a fan of the television show called Homeland. I've watched too many episodes to think that it's all fiction. If you haven't watched it, it's really basically a simple plot. An American soldier gets captured in Iraq. He's kept in captivity for 7 years. He's beaten to the point where they break him. They turn him into a Muslim. They make him a double agent. They release him back into America. And this ex-American soldier runs for office, and naturally he is elected because we love our war heroes. Meanwhile, he continues to pray to Mecca every day on a prayer rug in his basement, unbeknownst even to his wife and daughter. Meanwhile, he plots terrorist acts in America while he is a U.S. congressman. The one CIA agent who is onto him is convinced she is crazy by the other members of the CIA who put her in a mental hospital and subject her to criminal drugs and criminal electrotherapy. But she was right. He was a double agent all along. We have double agents operating at the highest level of American government, according to people who are in the intelligence services, let us say formally in the intelligence services, who see what's going on right in front of their eyes. There is no other explanation for what we're witnessing. ISIS rampaging without any American, let us say, real vociferous opposition. Bill Clinton calling ISIS a non-governmental organization and justifying what they're doing in a roundabout manner. Jeb Bush saying that NSA spying is a good thing. Do you have any idea what I'm talking with you about? It's called penetration. It's called penetration. It's called the taking over of a government from within. So what's coming next is the question. Let's take some calls and see what America has to say. Let's go up to New York City. Stephen on WABC, fire away. You've got the floor.
Michael, thank you for reading that open letter, and I applaud him for having way huge cojones than any Rhino Republican, without a doubt. But he's still only seeing 50% of what's going on, because everything he was complaining about Obama not taking action on in his letter that he wrote, all those things were done intentionally by Obama and his administration. And you know, more people.
Right. What this gentleman, Ray Flores, the Democrat member of the SEIU, is saying that Obama's not acting during our generation's Holocaust against Christians. And he's saying in future generations, people ask, what did President Obama do? We'll be sad to say that the answer will be nothing. What you're saying is he's wrong. He did everything he could to make sure the Holocaust went on.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?